prophetic generation.
God bless you. This is Prophet Prince Israel, the voice of evidence. I want to take you in the word of the Lord today that I've tagged the power of sacrifice. Psalms chapter number 50, verse number 5. The Bible records, gather to me the saints, those that have entered the covenant with me, even by sacrifice. I need you to understand that we may be all saints, but we are not all the same. By covenant, which is made by sacrifice. There are people that have entered into a covenant with God by sacrifice. You cannot enter into a covenant with God without a sacrifice. A man named Abraham in Genesis 22, when we begin from verse 1, God tested him by telling him to offer his only son, his only treasured son, as a sacrifice. But as Abraham was about to offer Isaac up, the Bible says when he picked his knife, the Bible says that the angel of the Lord withheld him from killing his son, from offering him as a burnt offering. And God showed him a lamb, and he provided a lamb for him instead of his son. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, now I have seen that you fear God. He saw that from his heart he could not withhold his own son to give him as a sacrifice. And on verse 16 the Bible says, God said to Abraham, by myself I have sworn unto you, because you did not withhold your son from me. Lord promised him, he entered into a covenant with him. He swore by his name, because Abraham did not withhold his son. And on verse number 17, that in the blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplicity I shall multiply thee. And I see the stars of heaven, and like sons of the Shishim. And the Bible says, and he said, and your seed shall possess the gates of his enemies, and all nations of the earth shall be blessed because of you. They shall ask me to bless me like I have blessed you. You shall be an example of a blessing. That was not a normal blessing. It was a solemn promise by the Lord because of a sacrifice. Hear me and hear me well. What is a sacrifice? A sacrifice is something you give from your heart. A sacrifice is the thing that you treasure the most in your life, and you give it before God. Something that you hold in highest esteem into your life, and you give it up to God. That is a sacrifice. In 1 Kings chapter number 3 verse number 4 to 12, the Bible says, and the man named Solomon, he gave 1,000 burnt offering unto the Lord. And the Bible tells us that night the Lord appeared to him. Listen to me, your sacrifice, it triggers a reaction in the realms of the spirit. Your sacrifice becomes a voice in the spirit. Every spirit recognizes it. The Bible says when Solomon gave 1,000 burnt offering, the Lord appeared and asked him, what should I do for you? And the Bible says that Solomon did not ask for wealth. He did not ask for his enemies to die. But the Bible says that Solomon asked for wisdom. That you have made me king now. Give me the wisdom to rule your people. And his request pleased the Lord. And the Bible tells us, and the Lord said, I shall give you wisdom like no other man on the earth. But even for the wealthy that you did not ask for, shall I give you. The Bible tells us, and when God granted his request, even people from overseas, the Queen of Sheba came to seek for his knowledge, to come and test his knowledge because of a sacrifice. You see somebody excelling in a certain area, you see somebody excelling and is a veteran in that area of field or a specific field, is because there is a covenant that is hanging over their lives. There is a covenant that is speaking over. There are many ways of sacrifice. I tell people there's a sacrifice of purity. That's why you'll be able to not do certain things. You restrict yourself into doing certain things because yourself, you are a sacrifice. The Bible says present your body holy and acceptable as a living sacrifice before God. That's why there's a sacrifice of holiness. There's a sacrifice of obedience. There are people that have sacrificed to obey God in in a certain way, and by that they have entered into a covenant with the Lord. That's why when you see a man like Solomon, the sacrifice of purity was not speaking, but listen to me, there was a sacrifice of giving that was speaking for him. A man named Abel, he offered offerings before God. The Bible says in Genesis 4 verse 9 that when he offered his offering before God and it was acceptable, Cain's offering was not acceptable, and by that he became jealousy and he killed the brother. The Bible says because he made a sacrifice that was worthy before God, when his brother killed him, he was condemned and judged. Hebrews 11 verse number 4. By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was a righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead, yet he speaketh. Abel became a voice because of a sacrifice, and we have people in our generation that want to be a voice. What sacrifice have you given? What covenant is speaking over your life? For you to be a voice in this generation, there must be a sacrifice that is speaking over your life. In 2 Kings 3 verse 27, when we start from 26, the Bible says, and when the king of Moab saw that the battle was so for him, he picked his only son that was supposed to be heir apparent to the throne, and the Bible says he offered him as a burnt offering. The battleground changed. The children of Israel ran away in indignation. Why? Because somebody offered an offering that reminded God of what he was about to do. It reminded God of the future. It reminded God of his only son that is going to give in the future for man's redemption. So in that situation, the battleground changed. There are many times that you may be praying and you are believing God for an answer. You are believing God to appear in that situation. Pick up your offering. Let the sacrifice of offering speak for you. A sacrificial offering. There is power in offering. In Genesis 8 verse number 20 to 22, the Bible tells us of a man named Noah. Noah offered an offering before the Lord, and the Bible says, and the Lord smelt the sweet smelling incense, and he spoke in his heart, never again shall I destroy the land for man's sake, for his days are evil from his youth. And the Bible says on 22, and God says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease, winter and summer shall not end, heat and cold shall not end, day and the night shall not cease. Why did God make a promise? Why did God say, I'll never again destroy the earth for man's sake? Because of the offering. There must be a covenant that you must enter with God for you to make impact, for you to make results, for you to leave your footprints on the sands of time. You need to have a covenant with God.